Hey guys, Greg Beast here. I've gotten a lot of questions about how to string up a Weapon X. I am not a stringing expert, but I've always told guys there's two things you need to learn to do when you first start playing lacrosse. One is to cradle, and two is to be able to string your own stick. So I've always strung my own stick. That's the way I've always done it. East Coast Dies has, in the past, has strung me up some really nice, just pure shooting heads. But now that we're out of those dark years, now that we have a FOSO head with the Weapon X, I have a head that I can string up to both face off and shoot with. So I've got some fresh Hero 2.0 mesh here. I've got a fresh Weapon X head, and I'm going to go over all the steps. So the first thing I've done is I throw in the top string, nothing fancy. This is obviously skipping holes, okay, all the way across. Real simple, in and out, keeping it simple and straight, okay. And then I always like to double wrap around the sides here just to make sure that it's pinned to the top corners. All right, so now I'm gonna work on the sidewall string. So as far as the sidewalls go, I'm pretty particular, very consistent. I do the same thing every single time. So at the top, this first spot here, I go around and then I lock it to the sidewall just like I did here to make this super tight. I pull it down so I have a channel. No matter what you do with your sidewalls down here, as long as this channel is pulled down on either side and it's tight, that's all that matters, because then you're gonna get a nice consistent pocket. So I pull it down real tight, I lock it here, I lock it here, skip a hole, lock it, skip a hole, lock it. Then after this spot right here, which is kind of the top of my pocket because I like kind of a mid pocket, mid to low. Once I get here, that's when I start to skip, because as you loop, that's where the apex of your pocket's gonna be, right? So if you skip holes and you lace it out, you get the apex of your pocket's gonna be right here. So that's why I skip these holes right here. So I skip, okay, as you can see. And then from there on, I know people have known for years, I've always said, I like to just loop it. I don't do any knots here. Loop, 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 get down here. And then I actually put the thread, after I loop, I keep it in here. So I go from this hole to this hole, and then I lock exactly the way I did up here. So this keeps it super tight, boom, and then you can tie your knot. All right, so finish the sidewalls on both sides, finish the top string. The bottom string, I've always done a little specific. I like to use lace. It's just a feel thing. That's just what I've always done. So I like to use shooting lace. I have it go on the inside hole. It comes up, and I go to the whatever the diamond is below where the sidewall strings end. So I go the next row of diamonds down, skip a couple so it kind of has this pinch to it. So it creates this kind of like bubble for you to catch and throw. And then I go back down, lace it back through, and then tie it on both sides. As you can tell, I don't have a rat tail. I hate the feel of it, and I don't like the way it flaps around when you're going down. When you punch it in, I like this to be empty and clean. A nice empty cup for the ball to go into when I'm pinching and popping and when I'm playing on face-offs. So I always cut it 1.5 diamonds down from where this lace is. So you measure 1 diamond and then a half, cut down the middle. You don't want to go to the diamond right below. Obviously, the guys who string for a living know that, just because you don't want to make it too close, because then if this rips, now you're in trouble. So diamond and a half, melt this with the lighter, and then you're good to go. So this is how the borders are done that I do. Okay, one more time. The top, nice and tight to the wall here, then loop it every other space between the diamonds. Sidewall string right here, nice and tight to the diamond, and then skip, lock, hole next to it, lock, and then we start looping. So I go through 2 here to get my apex of the pocket, because I have a mid pocket, and then I start to loop all the way down, and then I come in side here, okay, as you can see, one more time, right there. I go inside, I go out, and then I wrap it around and lock it to the bottom. As long as you're locked tight at the top and the bottom, you can pretty much do whatever you want in the inside here. And the reason that's important is if you leave this loose here and you just wrap this sidewall, then this pocket will just move really high up north and the ball will start to get jammed up top here and you'll have too much hold and the ball will dip on the ground. So this keeps the structure really good. I can pull this up and down and the pocket doesn't skyrocket towards the top of the head. It stays right where it's at, but I've always talked about the lateral swing that I like in the pocket, and that's what I have. So the reason I do the sidewall loops, once again, is because I want this to be tight for shooting and ripping, okay? String up a head that is really good to rip hard shots and be able to face off well and endure that is not easy. I've always found success with this. Now that I have a head that can do both too, it's awesome. So when we go from the face off, I want the maximal amount of width here. If I have these sidewall strings knotted and really tight, it takes away space, and that's where you start getting people who face off and the ball's always stuck in the back of their stick. So a lot of times, it might not even be the head. Yeah, there's heads out there that get super warped, but usually it's because guys have somebody else string their stick, and they string it like a regular midfielder where it's just a really tight sidewall string, and the knots take up another 1/4 of an inch on either side, so the ball's always going to get stuck no matter what. So that's why I loop this. So the pocket has all kinds of sway back and forth, and it maximizes, I mean, the mesh is right up against the plastic there. And then when I pop it out, it expands, and I don't have to worry about it taking up space. See, now I have the sidewalls again, so I have all that space, and that's exactly what I want. So I have a pocket now that stays tight north-south, doesn't go anywhere, so I can rip hard shots. And I have a pocket that has good sway back and forth, which is what I want for carrying in traffic. And then I also have a very short, I have no rat tail here, so I have a full cup to deal with on my face-offs. And then this pocket, obviously this is Hero 2, so it just dips right back in as soon as I pick up my ground ball. Now I'm gonna go over, I always use 2 shooters. I'll just show you exactly how I do that. All right, so I just wrapped up the shooting strings here. I've always gone 1 nylon and 1 lace. I always like the feel of the nylon, the ball just kind of snapping off the top. Especially when I was playing man up in college, I always had at least 1 nylon up here so I could feel that when I ripped. So that gives you a little snap in your shot. So completed pocket now for a Weapon X. Once again, I am not a professional stringer. I'm not saying you have to do it this way. I literally made this video because so many of you were asking the best way that I string a Weapon X. This is my preferred style because I have found that for the way I play, this gives me the best advantages on face-offs, on ground balls, catching and throwing, and especially shooting hard. And when we talk about a FOSO head, when I bring up the Weapon X, I tell people that, in my opinion, a FOSO head is not a head that maintains its shape a little bit so that I can catch and throw. If I'm looking at a FOSO head, I'm talking about a head that I could legitimately rip the ball hard on man up with. And that's what this head is. So I want to string it so that I can rip the ball hard. So this is the style I got, okay? All the different angles there. The reason these strings are a little bit longer on the side is because when it comes to shooting strings, you might want them a little bit looser, you might want them a little bit tighter, who knows? So until that gets right, I keep the strings a little longer just in case, and then I cut them and burn them at the very end, okay? So I hope you guys got something out of this. Weapon X, my style of stringing. She's a beauty.